welcome back. And this is the third episode of the Cobra application, essentially a prompt generator. We're trying to build the prompt generator, which will provide a more concise and more, I would say, organized series of prompts, which means that we will depend less on winging it and well, let's just go in a procedural fashion until we get what we need, so basically like a linear fashion, which essentially will just use up a lot of tokens, and at the same time, because of the way functions relate to one another, it's easier to have something visual and well organized and prepared from the ground up than it is to just, where we want to build more complicated applications, to just dwell in, well, let's see if we can keep improving it this way or that way, and hope for the best. Essentially, as we introduce more prompts and there's more functions, things become more complex and we start getting into all kinds of errors. So, welcome to the prompt generator. Let's dive right in, and I will show you the third iteration of it. So it's a zero point 0.3, not exactly a 1.0, so not a 100% proven concept because I haven't tested it yet. So in order to do that, we need to bring it up to we need to bring it up to um, more maturity. Now, in order to to bring it up to par, to at least what I would expect, uh, I've added a couple of additional functions that I'm sure you might like, and no worries. The links will be on my GitHub page, and I will post them right on at the bottom of this episode. And let's just dive straight into it, and let me show you what I've got so far. And I'm gonna run with this and try and create. In this case, it's gonna be a gear game. So let's uh, let's get right to it.
Okay, so here is my the desktop. I'm just gonna start VS, and here we go. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So if you've watched any of my episodes, you're a bit familiar with my channel. I use VS. Very quickly, we have our environment set up here, which is essentially our main folder. I have my script for 0.3. So it is quite a long script. I've imported the major libraries like Psycop PG2, and we have our terminal at the bottom here. So you could dwell into this. It was created with GenI according to my specifications and prompts. And this is pretty much what I wanted to create. And it is a prompt generator, something that will help, as I mentioned, to tighten things up a bit, make things, the progression of prompts a lot more logical and concise. So let me just run this and you will, and let's get straight to it. So I'm going to just get out of there and let me just expand this a bit. Okay, so just a quick recap. We have the file at the top that allows us to create a new project. So we could create any new project. And actually, before we do that, we would connect to the database. So connection to the database only needs to happen once. And what we would enter is the host name, the port, the database, and the database name and the username. We don't need a password. Let me just click out of there. So the database, like PyScope PG2, is for Postgres. So I use Postgres as the main DBMS, and the environment I use dbeaver as the environment. So here is pretty much dbeaver. Now let's open a project. So we will open an existing project, and here we go. So the name of this is Gear Master. I'll double click, and here we go. So these are functions that I have created. And essentially, before I create a function, I like to create a list. So I'll show you that basically these are drop-down lists. And like most websites and applications, the most popular type of list is a drop-down list. So if we wanted to add a new list, by the way, let me just go to dbeaver here. And so this is one of our tables. It is the list table. So it has gear types, colors, design, and behavior. So one, two, three, four lists that we have here. Now, if I go to my add list, so I wanted to add, so we could see here that we have the behavior, we have the colors, we have the gear types, and we have the design. Now, if I wanted to add an additional list, let's say list list one, we'll just call it list one for now. We'll do add and then save. So we should get list one here as soon as we refresh. And there we go. So we have list one. And of course, it's the same for the functions. So this is we have our functions in these specific rows, and we have the columns. So for instance, we have the name column, which has all the names of the functions. And yeah, you could also, of course, go ahead and query. Um, so simple queries as well, and you'll get your info. So we have the project. So the project comes from the objective, and here we go. Uh, so the objective is just a very quick, short paragraph or two. It's basically a synopsis of what it is that the application is about. In this case, it's supposed to be a nice, simple game of just creating gears and um, having those gears essentially join and rotate each other. So one main gear will rotate all the others. That's pretty much it, and should be fun. I haven't created it yet. I can't wait to see what this might do when I enter these prompts into a into the NLP. So let me run by this here a bit. Let me just exit of here. So we have add a function, which allows me to create another function name. I could connect it to any of the lists that I want, including the new one here. And I could put the order of the list here. So I could say I want it to be, let's say I create a few different ones and relate them to a certain function. I can, to a certain list, sorry, I could pretty much decide how I want them to be displayed in the dropdown. Will it be order number one or two or three or so on and so forth. So these are the gears that I've created is gear types, so it's under the list gear types. So we have the function name is a spur gear, so that is the actual name that we see. And the description is pretty simple, create a spur gear. Inputs, click this drop down option from gear types to choose. So it will be a drop down from gear types. And actually, this can actually be improved a bit. Um, Also, when right clicking the mouse, uh, choose gear types. So as you can see, these are descriptions that you would just enter. And here I will just do an update to database and functions updated. And we see this little icon here. Pretty neat, huh? I thought it would be cool. So then we have the outputs, which is actually what we want it to output as a display. The visual output as well, basically. Well, the outputs would be once we click the button, what we want to happen. So just be as descriptive as you think you should. And it doesn't really matter because I will show you a bit in a bit how you can improve this. So the visual output is just what we want to see. And relationships, again, you just click. And in this case, there's no relationships. But I guess we could just choose like blue, green. Let's choose I guess we can relate it to anything but the other gears. So, for instance, so it won't be the miter gear. And bevel gear. So we have the bevel gear, the miter gear, and the spur gear. Where are you, spur gear? And the spur gear is not here because this is the spur gear. Um, we will save that. We will do the same with we could do the same with the other ones. But one thing I want to show you here is now the logical mapping. So what would happen if we click on logical mapping? It will show how everything relates to everything else. So let's say the collars are part of collars. So the list that is collars, the outer diameter, inner diameter, teeth, pitch circle, and circular pitch. We don't really need those because things should adjust to each other as part of the game. It should be as simple as possible. But I added the pitch circle and circular pitch just for fun. And I know these are more technical, but why not just play with it? Face width is an important one because that actually determines the width of the gear. So in a 3D XYZ environment, it's going to show the depth as well. So the outer diameter, so these inner diameter, these are part of the design. And the main is where you choose which gear you want to the other gears to be dependent on. So which gear will move the others. So main, speed, select and join objects where you can drag and drop and essentially extend a a square over a select area and pick those objects based on the selection. They will all join together to your main gear. So you would need to first go ahead and choose which is your main gear, and then you could select all the objects that you want to, basically the other gears that you want to join with that gear. And then there's the deselect option. So let this join. Now, if we wanted to see how all of this relates, remember that the spur gear, I've added that to the rest, and let's just add this here again. Okay, so let's add an explanation as well. And let me just make sure it's still there. Okay, and let's save to database. And let's make sure it's there again. Yes. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. The information that you put in is really up to you. Just try and be as descriptive as possible. There's no right and wrong way of doing it. It's just all, well, let's see if it works, how it works, and eventually um, you'll get uh, you'll get the hang of it. Basically, as you start testing it out and building your own programs with it. Well, basically getting your own prompts. So how do you get the prompts? Well, basically, you just click on compile, and compile is essentially all the data, the information that you've entered in. So you've got your objective and overview, you've got your behavior lists and what they do, you've got your colors, which is your colors list, you've got your design list, gear types, your cross relations, and the other thing here is the logical mapping. Now, let me show you how everything is mapped. So when we click on logical mapping, and it is on my other screen here, let me just drag it up. Here we go. We could see that it's actually been able to capture the entire relationship between these functions. And this is important. This is actually goes into a JSON file. And so it's not obviously because it is visual, it goes to the JSON file and not the database, obvious. And but it does understand these relationships. Now, to you could just make this lower. So, uh, I mean, you could decrease or you could just expand it a bit, but just so you understand that these actually are related. Now, if we look at another option here, which I've added, and this is the mind map. So let's close that. The mind map is a lot more simplistic. And if we click on the mind map, let me just drag it. It is on the other screen. Just drag it up here. And this is a simple mind map. So it shows us here how these are all connected to each other. So pretty nice to visualize the functionalities. So we have the Gear Master, which is the main application, and then we have our lists, which are gear types, design, colors, and behavior. Now in gear types, we have the spur gear, the miter, and the bevel gear, and yeah, we have the circular pitch and a pitch circle. These have a relationship to one another, so it's actually identified that relationship, which is pretty cool. And we also have a reset option there. So really nice. Let's click out of there. And then I have another goodie here for you, which is the analysis. Of course, there's always a guide. So let me just bring up the guide. The guide is always introduce a guide as a function. And this one explains how to use all the functionality within the tool. Now, the analysis. Are you ready for this? Because this one is Um, Something that I didn't think possible, but I really wanted to try and get this done. So it's based on heuristics, not large language models. And in terms of heuristics, this will let us know two things. How likely is our model susceptible to failure? In other words, if we look at it the other way, how likely is it to succeed? And where can we make changes? And how can those improvements increase the chances, the success rate? So let me just drag this from my other screen as well. So here we go. Let me make this a bit bigger. So we have a lot of things happening here. Basically, with the information that we've entered, our success rate is about 3/4. So with the improvements, suggested improvements, here's a quick synopsis of these suggested improvements. And at the bottom, it actually advises us where we can touch upon those improvements and just copy and paste them in. So if we do those improvements, our likelihood of success is about 90%. So that is quite an improvement. And we even have nodes here, like a whole bunch of top degree nodes and some other key metrics. So you could just download the this, play around with it, start creating functions. At first, I would really think about the logical relationship between these functions and see should they really be related. So for instance, if I open the spur gear here and I see all the options that I chose and it's related to the other functions, I should probably explain how it's related. So the other functions, when picked, will have an impact on the look and feel and behavior of the spur gear. So that's something I would just add here as an example. And yeah, just go ahead and see where it goes and do subscribe. That way you could stay on top of all the new episodes that come up, including the one that I'm gonna want to try this out and see where this gear game goes. So do join me. Do try things out, experiment as much as you can, and I hope that you did enjoy this session and that you'll look out for all my next upcoming episodes. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.